Welcome to Plant Stories from Bilad al-Sham with Inc. We're going to start our session today with the ways in which you would be greeted if you visited a home in Bilad al-Sham with coffee. So have you ever wondered why the Christians of Bilad al-Sham wave date palm fronds on Palm Sunday? Like, what is it? What is it, the symbolism of the date palm? How did this begin? Where does this come from? What is it rooted in? And why this tree in particular? And why is it that on our holy days, and this applies, of course, to both Christians and Muslims, the state of Israel likes to become excessively violent? Well, let's get into it. So every Palm Sunday, the villages and cities of Bilad al-Sham perform a sacred ritual, one that connects us to the deepest memories of this land. People gather date palm fronds and they weave them into intricate designs, crosses and crowns, and their hands moving in patterns that are passed down through generations and generations. This, of course, is no simple tradition, as we're going to find out. It is our living dialogue with this tree, with this land that has witnessed empires rise and fall and yet still stands. So the story, of course, begins with the date palm itself. The date palm has an incredible ability to withstand drought. So this was something that was noticed by the ancient Mesopotamians. And while the farmers would watch the land crack and dry in the drought of summer and other trees wilt and wither, the date palm stood strong and it always returned back to life in the autumn rains. So this is why, while Tammuz, the shepherd god, wasn't specifically linked to the date palm, he was linked to this process, this cycle, because Tammuz is a god that dies, goes into the underworld, and then rises from the dead again. And this same story happens in the Canaani Ba'ali cycle, the Canaanite Ba'ali cycle myth. So Baal, who is also a storm god, the god of fertility, also dies and comes back to life and is associated with trees that only live on rainwater, which to this day in Bilad al-Sham people call Ba'ali trees. So the date palm would be considered a Ba'ali tree. And then, of course, our ancestors told of the great goddess named Ashtar, who was also called Ishtar. And one of her many names was the Lady of the Date Palms. And so her story, like the trees, because she also goes through a resurrection, and a story where she goes to the underworld, literally the place of no return, dies for 3 days, and then comes back to life. And so, again, we're seeing this theme of death and rebirth, death and rebirth. And then nearby you have devotees of Asherah, also a Canaanite goddess. She was the mother goddess of the land. And people would wrap cloths around the date palm because they believed that her presence was in the tree, which speaks so much about the love and the care and the nurturance that people felt from this tree, which is nature, because that's how trees are. They're extremely giving. So, and then of course you have along the Nile, the priests of ancient Egypt told of the Bennu bird, which the Greeks called the phoenix. And this golden heron, which rose from the ashes, made its nest in the crown of the date palm. And of course, this was painted on temple walls as a symbol of eternal return. And the message was clear. Like the Bennu, the date palm could not be destroyed. Fire, drought, or flood, it would rise again. Centuries later, this wisdom would echo in the Quran story of Maryam, the mother of Jesus. And in this story, in Surah Maryam, Maryam is exhausted and she rests under a date palm tree. And as she's resting there and just exhausted from the being in labor and everything that she's experiencing, a voice instructs her to shake the tree. And when she shakes the tree, the fruits fall to the ground and she's instructed to eat the fruits. And so this is amazing because it tells us something without saying something, but it tells us what our midwives knew for centuries, which is that the science behind this, which is that the dates stimulate the body's oxytocin, therefore easing labor. And they're also very rich in potassium, therefore guarding the mother's strength. So the land always gives and gives and gives and gives in so many wonderful ways. And of course, under Israeli colonization, Christians and Muslims of Bilad al-Sham endure every form of oppression. And it's well known in Palestinian communities that during our most sacred holy days, people are blocked from entering holy sites. They are denied permits to move through their own homeland, and they're harassed by settlers and at times bombed and killed. Just last night in Gaza, one day before Palm Sunday, Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital was bombed. A child was killed, and more lives were shattered, and more of the land's fragile infrastructure was torn apart. And as we know, they've bombed hospital after hospital after hospital. So why does this violence so often escalate during holy days? Because our rituals, our prayers, our processions, our fasting, our palm weaving, they're not just traditions. They're not just these mere symbols that came out of nowhere, but they are living proof of our uninterrupted presence here. They are the thread that connects us, that binds us to this land. So for a colonial project that claims indigeneity, they have a constant need to cut this thread because our existence denies their indigeneity by default. But we are still here, and the land remembers. So over 2,000 years ago, when on Ahad al-Sha'anin, Palm Sunday, when crowds lined the streets of Jerusalem waving date palm fronds as Jesus victoriously entered the city, they were invoking something far older. They were summoning Ashtar's return, Tammuz's revival, and Maryam's lineage, all woven into the fibers of these branches. Their cry, Hosanna, is a prayer woven through time, a cry to the heavens, to God, please save us, please, God, enough, save us. To hold a palm frond is to hold a covenant with this land. A single seed, as small as a coin, can grow into a large tree that can feed generations. Its trunk, marked with scars, carrying the experiences, carrying all it witnesses, a living archive. Its fruit, carried across oceans and continents, becomes a taste of home for those who live in exile. This is a story that no empire could erase, not of conquests or borders, but of a tree that taught us how to endure, how to bend without breaking, and how to rise again and again.